Okay, let's talk about the ADHD brain. It's so often misunderstood. We tend to see it as just a list of problems, like being unable to focus. But what if that's only half the story? What if it's also the source of some pretty incredible strengths, like creativity and that intense hyperfocus? In this explainer, we're going to break down what adult ADHD really is, drawing from the latest insights.
I mean, does this question hit home for you? That feeling of always playing catch-up, struggling to get organized, always running late, forgetting important things, and just feeling totally overwhelmed by life? It's exhausting, right?
And here's the thing. For millions of adults, that constant struggle, it's not a personal failing. It's not about not trying hard enough. Our source material makes it really clear. It's often the result of an unrecognized neurodevelopmental condition that's actually been there since childhood.
So to really get to the bottom of that feeling of being constantly overwhelmed as an adult, we've got to look back. We have to rewind. Because for so many people, the key to what's happening now is hidden in their childhood experiences, where the signs were there all along. They were just completely misunderstood.
Just think back for a second. Do any of these labels on the slide ring a bell? Were you the dreamer for staring out the window? The slacker because you couldn't finish your projects? These weren't character flaws. As our sources point out, these were just misguided attempts by adults to explain the symptoms of a condition nobody really understood back then.
So, if all those childhood labels were wrong, what's the truth? Well, it is time to unmask adult ADHD. Let's start separating the hard facts from some very, very persistent fiction.
At its very core, ADHD is not a failure of willpower. Let's just get that straight. As the slide says, it's caused by real physical differences in how the brain is wired. Basically, a chemical issue in its management systems. And that right there is a crucial distinction. It shifts the whole conversation from blame to biology.
I love how this table just busts some of the biggest myths out there. Take that second one. This idea that people with ADHD can never pay attention. That's just not true. The reality is, they often struggle with boring stuff, but can get into this state of incredible, intense focus on things that actually engage them. And the myth that you had to be diagnosed as a kid? Nope, also false. So many adults develop these amazing coping mechanisms that they can go their whole lives without a diagnosis.
Okay, so what does this condition actually look like day to day? It's so much more than just being a little fidgety or getting distracted easily. Let's take a look.
So the first big bucket of symptoms is all about inattention and disorganization. This is stuff like getting sidetracked by anything and everything, struggling to finish what you start, or missing important details. And of course the classics, being chronically late or that constant frantic search for your keys, your phone, your wallet. Sound familiar? These are total hallmark signs.
But, and this is so fascinating, the ADHD brain has this paradox. It's not just a deficit of attention. It can also be a total surplus of it. It's a state called hyperfocus. It's when you get so locked into something you find interesting that hours can go by and the entire world just melts away. Now, this can be an absolute superpower for getting things done, but it's also why other really important responsibilities can get completely forgotten.
The other side of the coin here involves impulsivity and emotional stuff. This can show up as interrupting people, acting without really thinking through the consequences, or just feeling like you have a really short fuse. As you can see here, this often leads to getting flustered and stressed out super easily, and being really, really sensitive to criticism. And that can make work and relationships incredibly challenging.
Now we've got to talk about something really important that our sources highlight. You know that classic picture of ADHD, the hyper little boy who can't sit still? Well, because that's the stereotype, the condition is so often missed in girls and women.
And this table just lays it all out so clearly. Look at the difference here. In men, the main symptom is often that external hyperactivity, but in women, it's much more likely to be internal inattentiveness. Women are also way more likely to try and hide or mask their symptoms, which just turns into feelings of anxiety and low self-esteem instead of a proper diagnosis. It's a huge reason why so many women don't get answers until they're well into adulthood.
So what's the big deal? What happens when this condition goes unrecognized for years and years? Well, the impact isn't small. It's not isolated. It creates these massive ripple effects that touch every single part of a person's life.
This visual really makes that impact obvious. I mean, look at this chart. Untreated ADHD creates some serious challenges across the board. A huge 35% chunk of the impact falls on work and finances. Then you've got relationships and physical and mental health, each getting hit hard.
This isn't just a minor inconvenience. We're talking about something that fuels chronic stress, anxiety, and this deep, nagging sense of not living up to your potential.
But here is where the story pivots. Because an ADHD diagnosis is not a life sentence, not even close. It's an explanation. And once you have that understanding, you have the power to shift your focus away from the deficits and toward harnessing your incredible assets.
That's right, superpowers. I'm not kidding. Because the exact same brain wiring that makes paying bills a nightmare is often a powerhouse of creativity and passion. We're talking about truly incredible, out-of-the-box thinking, a mind that's just a constant fountain of original ideas. And that hyperfocus we talked about, when you aim that at something you're passionate about, it becomes an absolutely unstoppable force.
And the great news is you can absolutely learn to manage the challenges. Our source material lays out some really powerful strategies. Things like regular exercise to burn off that extra energy and, of course, prioritizing sleep. Those are huge for focus. But I really want to draw your attention to number 6 because it might just be the most important one on the list. Learn to blame the ADHD, not yourself. It's about your wiring, not your worth.
So where do we go from here? Because understanding your brain is just the first step. The next and most exciting step is taking control and starting to rewrite your own story.
I just love this quote from our source. It's such a powerful reminder. Having ADHD says absolutely nothing about how smart you are or what you're capable of. Your brain just works differently, and that is more than okay.
For so many people, getting a diagnosis isn't about being slapped with some scary label. It's the exact opposite. It's that moment of profound relief, an explanation for a lifetime of struggle. It's like finally getting the user manual for your own brain. It's the key that unlocks a whole new path forward, one that's based on strategy and self-awareness, not self-blame.
So we're going to end on this question. This whole explainer, it was never about limitations. It was always about possibilities. Finally understanding how your brain is wired is a gift. The only real question left is, what are you going to build with it?